Welcome back to A Lighter Shade of Brown. Today I am joined by Fabian Spencer. Fabian and I have been friends pushing 20 years at this point. Met on the basketball court. He's a former All-American in college, a couple tryouts in the NBA. He shoots nice, pretty with the lefty. He's been known to foul me plenty of times. But Fabian, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Mr. Brown. And I don't think I ever fouled you a day in my life.
Oh my God, I have videos of fouls. I could tell that there were times in the YMCA where one of the two of us would leave out, storming out, kicking doors, kicking basketballs, yelling at each other, but yet we're still very close friends. That's a great thing about being guys is you could go at each other, you could be yelling, you could call names, you could do whatever, but you walk away and then 5 minutes later you're still best friends.
Exactly. And every now and then I had to send a text just to say, I'm sorry, just so you could come back the next day. Because if not, you wouldn't show up for a week. So I had to apologize.
My feelings never get hurt because I don't lose. I mean, if in anything, my teams almost always win. Yeah.
The first game, like once I got going, then y'all wasn't winning no more. So the first game you could catch me, but after that, no.
We'd be playing old man basketball. I remember back in the day when we had a friend who was a pharmaceutical rep, and he used to get these this little nose spray that would help us, like it would make us not feel any pain, and we all be huffing that thing before we go in at 5:30 in the morning, taking the spritz.
Yeah, that spritz was good. I miss those days. I wish we can get back to it, but the way my body's set up right now, I don't think I can run up and down the court more than once.
Yeah, we got to look at those 50 and older leagues. But so Fabe and I date back way before ALG. He knew me back when I was working for another lawyer, a guy with big ears and a discount. And then, he was running a business. He had your own business back then. What were you doing, Fabe?
So I had my own cleaning business back then. And then, of course, Mr. Brown knew about that cleaning business. And within 2 months, I had 10 new businesses that he got me. So 10 new contracts that Joe Brown was like, hey, try my guy out, and he put me on, and I had all these new businesses rolling. So I was very thankful for that because I didn't even know him that long at that time, but he still was like, I trust that you're going to do what you're going to do. And
hey, when you find people who do a good job, then you got to promote them. You got to do good, and you know what? I've been lucky enough that people believe me when I tell them that. So the great thing was Fabe delivers, so I never had to worry about that. It wasn't hard because he did a great job, always did a good job. So you've had your own business.
Mm-hmm.
I think now you have a business with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
You work with her business, I should say. And then you've seen ALG from the beginning, from the time I started it with three of us opening the doors. So what do you think the difference is? Maybe I'm just curious about your business differences between when you're running your business as to how it compares to what you see at ALG, because you work here part-time, helping us out here.
Yeah, well, I remember it started. I remember calling you, was it like maybe 6 years ago when I was looking for a job, and I'm like, hey, Joe, I need a job. You was like, show up on Monday. And I'm like, what's the requirements? He's like, do you know me? Yeah. Then show up. And then that was it. And I've been working here ever since. So, but just the motto of Joe Brown, he's hard-nosed worker. He's gonna do whatever it takes to win. And so I really appreciated Joe. And then to see from where we were at to where he done grew it's amazing just to see it. Like I always brag about Joe, and every time I see the billboards on the freeway, I was like, Joe Brown. I see trucks going around with ALG. So from the time I started till this time, it's maybe 6 years, and it's grew a lot. So, I won't say it a lot, but I'm proud of what Joe's done and how he continues to succeed.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I will say that my proudest moment is probably the time that your son posted a picture of me because I set the record of scoring the most points in one game at the YMCA. And Fabe's son is legit. He's a legit player, just like Fabe is. But I got the record at the YMCA, not Fabe. I just want to make sure I remember that.
And it was funny because he took a picture, had a picture of your scoring thing, and put it on his wall. Like, man, you got to get that Joe Brown picture off the wall. He kept it up for a long time.
Hey, man, that was my first billboard. I mean, I never had a billboard then. You know, that's what gave me the idea that maybe I could put my face on a billboard.
You know, he thought y'all were best of friends too, because I was like, yeah, Joe invited me to a game tonight. He's like, I know Joe. Me and Joe are best friends. Can I come to him? I was like, no, he only has 2 tickets. Like, you can't go. But he used to always just talk about Joe. Like, what's Joe doing? And
yeah, the great thing about being friends with Fabe is Fabe is an amazing person, but he's a phenomenal dad. So whenever I need fatherly advice, I'm always call him. I mean, he's a guy who gave up his career to be a stay-at-home dad for years. Had a career at TSA and said, you know what, we're gonna have children, and him and his wife at that time sat down and decided. And Fabe was like, yeah, you know what, not a lot of guys are willing to give up their career, let their wife go pursue that and be a stay-at-home dad. But this fool did it. He did it well. I mean, I remember times when the kids acted up and Fabe would be sitting in the back of the class. He would come in and be like, I'm going to be sitting in class all week. And he'd be like in kindergarten back there sitting there making sure DJ's doing what he's supposed to.
DJ, Olivia, like I was there.
Yeah.
And so we made sure we were going to do what we need to do. And, Olivia then graduated from college. Vanessa graduated. DJ will be a senior. Raven's will be a sophomore next year. So Arya's going to the 8th grade. So, we got a lot going on.
There you go. I mean, so he had all these kids, and then he decided, no, I'm going to adopt one. And he adopts Arya. And I'm like, fool, what are you doing? Your kids are getting older. You know what? I guess I could say the same thing. I went and got remarried and brought in a little one, Abigail. And, I don't know. There's something about being a dad, and it's just, I find it the most rewarding. I mean, I love what I do every day. I enjoy coming to work. I enjoy getting that win for my client. But there's nothing better than when you have a good dad moment. And I always see yours posted on Instagram and you chasing those damn kids around and then battling these kids because they're teenagers. They are not fun.
Oh, it's life is not easy, especially with girls. Like, it's something about girls and being teenagers. It's just different. It's like Arya be 13 on the 5th.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling those 13 years. Like, she is work. But,
yeah. Listen, my daughter just turned 22, and it is rough.
Yeah. So,
I'm like, I don't know when they grow out of it, but I don't know. Somewhere along the line, my daughter, I think, thought she's a Kardashian or something. She'd be like, well, because I have a billboard and I'm on TV. She must be famous. Yeah. So she told people, everybody knows me, and I'm like, I don't understand this, but don't mean you don't got to go to class still and go get those good grades. And luckily, she's a very bright young lady, and she does a good job at that. But I think the great thing about our friendship is it grows on multiple levels. I mean, even around here, Fabe would be pulling me aside and be like, "Hey, man, here's what's going on around here," or "Here's what you need to do," or gives me good business advice, gives me great personnel advice. We obviously got fatherly advice. I mean, I will be the one that gives him basketball advice because I can tell you when we ran some leagues around this town and we owned some people, including those Arizona Cardinals that we whipped them several times in those charity games. More than once, I'd be standing at the top dribbling and telling him to get his lazy ass down in the post because he ain't going to sit out there and shoot threes all day and be just, jacking them up. I didn't make him go get a layup once in a while, even though he want to put in the work.
Yeah, I needed that bucket every now and then just to get me going. So you were right about that for sure.
Listen, sometimes it's all about a floor general. I mean, I didn't get a lot of shots, and I'm going to tell you something about Fabian. When you kick that ball in, it ain't coming back out. And if it is, he expects it back in about 2 seconds. Yeah. You hang on to it too long, he's going to yell at you, and then he'll start pouting. Then he won't play defense. I mean, it's just a whole damn thing.
That you don't be an All-American by passing the ball. You got to put it in the bucket. So that's what my coach taught me. You got to score.
Yeah,
it's like passing leads to turnovers.
Not me. I mean, yeah.
For me, it's a turnover, so I'm gonna go ahead and shoot it. So,
the great thing about Fabe is he's played with some amazing people, but people don't realize one of those individuals is 2 Chainz, and you played college ball with 2 Chainz. You guys are tight. You're still friends. You still text all the time.
I texted him last weekend. He texted me at like 12:45 in the morning last Sunday to tell me he's out here. I'm like, I didn't see it till 6 a.m. I was sleeping. I'm like, I should have texted you earlier because, but yeah, so along that basketball journey, you make a lot of friends during that time. So a lot of people I still stay in contact with. And so, I enjoyed my time as a basketball player.
Hey, you know what? I think I'm big on sports. I think it's great. I think if I could hire one or take one trait from people I want to hire, it's individuals who's played sports. Because you know what? If you played sports, you understand disappointment. And you understand what it means to work to a goal. You understand what it means to be part of a team that's just not just you. And I think that's key to any great employee-employer relationship. And understanding that, I mean, I preach all the time here, like, listen, we're part of a team. The greatest thing about being at ALG is we are a firm. We don't expect any one person to know the answer to everything, but that's why we got doors that open and that are open. And you can walk in and ask a question. And if that person doesn't know the answer, well, then the two of you walk into somebody else's office and ask a question. And that's how we all learn and how we all grow. And I think that also stems from, playing sports. I didn't, play college football or basketball, but, definitely played a lot in high school. And we had a lot of competitive times playing basketball for sure. I mean, I'm if anything, I'm not a good loser.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I learned from Joe Brown. I'm not going to do it as far as when I had my business. I won't make somebody do something that I can't do. And so Megan's biggest thing is Joe Brown's the best paralegal she ever met. Because as much as he is a great attorney, he can paralegal too. And so, like, he knows the steps of doing the work. And so when he comes at you, you got to know he knows what he's talking about because he's been through it. So when she's out, he paralegals for her. And so she's like, Joe's the best paralegal ever because he knows all the steps of what it takes to do the work.
So those of you who don't know, Megan is my paralegal. She's been my paralegal now 20 years. Mm-hmm. We just had our 20 anniversary, and I didn't throw enough congratulations to her. But yes, she's amazing. She puts up with me. She knows what I want and how I want it. And I have a system. And like any good lawyer, everybody has their own system and stuff like that. And but yes, and my system starts with the paralegal because frankly, you know what, that's who the clients meet and that's who they talk to the most. And if you know what they're doing, and I tell this to lawyers, if you understand what the paralegal's doing, then you know what your job is. And you also know when they're not doing their job. So you can pick it up accordingly, or you can help guide them or teach them and educate them. But yeah, it's fun. We gotta. I mean, it's kind of like a family around here. Yeah. I mean, hard to believe that I've got one employee who has worked with me for 20 years. I don't know. Megan's really an employee more. She's at this point it's a partnership more than anything. Mm-hmm. But she does take a lot of vacations, and I'm doing a lot of paralegling lately. She's living her best life. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, I don't get to live that life as good as she lives it right now. But I think it's good. So we've got a fun story. I mean, so listen, if anybody knows anything about me, kind of straight-laced. I ain't never done a drug in my life. So Fabe calls me, it was about 2 years ago, and we're here, the Super Bowl's in town, and he's like, hey, 2 Chainz just invited me out. So I'm like, oh shit, I want to meet 2 Chainz, man. I love 2 Chainz. So Fabe invites me and said, all right, let's go meet 2 Chainz. And I'm like, man, all right. So I'm gonna let you take the story there. I go pick him up, and then where we go? We go to Scottsdale.
We go to Scottsdale, and then I guess it's just rappers. They show up when they show up. So we out standing outside. Finally, Joe seen somebody he knew. They ended up getting us in. And so we in another section, and then Joe buys a couple of beers, and then we just waiting. Then all of a sudden he's like, I'm coming through the back. So they're on a whole nother side, and we looking like, it was all these people. How are we going to get there? Joe's like, well, follow me. So he takes me through the kitchen. We go around somewhere where we're not supposed to be. But I guess if you with Joe Brown, we'll figure it out. We went through the kitchen. They looking at us. He's like, okay. And then we go around, and then we get in the section. And then so, like, if anybody knows 2 Chainz, he smokes a lot. And so once one go out, there's another one in. And so by the time the night was over.
And we ain't talking cigarettes.
Yeah. Joe's eyes was all red. And then it was funny because the next day we're going to the golf tournament. And so I go to Joe's house to meet him, and all his clothes are in the garage because it was so much smoke in his clothes that he left them in the garage and they just went in the house. So it was the best.
I stripped down to my freaking boxers, but walk into the house at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. First of all,
that contact had him extra high.
Oh man, I definitely, I didn't need any more munchies, and I already had them. And I ain't never been high before, so we had that. Yeah. And then I hate the smell always gives me a headache, but I left it all outside in the garage. I mean, someone traipsing through my house in my box, and my wife's like, "What the hell's going on?" Coming in at like 3:00 in the morning. Now I'm in bed by like 9, so this is like a whole new world to me. Being up this late. So yeah, it was a good time. It was amazing. So I might have been. It was me and the camera guy were the only 2 white guys in the whole section. I was like, all right, so we chilling, and it was a blast. I mean, he's singing right next to us. I mean, it was an experience. I love Fabian for getting me into that. He knew I loved some 2 Chainz.
But even the guys that you were with, they were looking like, how did Joe get in that section? Because they invited you in their section, and then all of a sudden we're in that. They like, how did you get over there? You're like, you just did this. Like, put your hands up. I don't know, but we're here.
So if anybody's in the mass tort world, Don Worley was in town, and Don's a character. He has his own TV show. He's a comedian. He's done some crazy shit. Well, once I found out Don was there's only 2 VIP sections in this whole thing, and Don had the other one. And I was like, hey, I'm with Don. And they're like, oh, no problem. They just bring us right in. We sitting there, But listen, if I learned anything in my life, act like you belong, and no one will ever question you. And we just acted like we belong. I was like, just follow me. We walking through the back. I was like, hey, that's a nice Caesar salad. Looks pretty good. And the dude looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I was like, hey, you know what? Just kept going. We went on the other side because there was no way we were getting through that crowd because everybody was piling that joint looking for 2 Chainz. They couldn't wait to meet him and see him and have him sing there. And I don't know, but that might be the most expensive Michelob Ultra we ever had in my life. It was like $18 for a Michelob Ultra in a bottle.
Beers.
2 beers. I mean, no, $18 each.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was like $40 with the tip, and the lady looking at me like I only got a $4 tip. Yeah. It's like holy shit. It's like they had to pay for 2 Chainz. But yeah, I learned some important things that night. I think rappers come in when they come in.
They show up when they want to.
Yeah. If they say they're going to be there at 10, it's probably 1. And you know what? I always show up early, so that's not a good thing. Be a good thing, But we were able to bluff our way in. We got in, didn't pay a cover.
Nope.
They were charging like 100, 150 cover to get in this joint. We walked right in for free, sat in the section. They poured us vodka for free. We had the whole section to ourselves. And it ended up being a bunch of people I knew, so we were blessed there. And then we got to hang with 2 Chainz, and it was quite the thing. But I think he's coming back to town again here in a couple weeks, isn't he?
He was here last Sunday.
Was it last Sunday?
I missed out because I go to sleep early now too. Like, old age is setting in.
Hey man, once you get 50, I mean, I'm 50 now. You're what? You're 51?
Yeah.
Setting in. Yeah. You know what? Shit. I think I saw something the other day. I think I sent it to you. It says 9 p.m. is the new 2:30 for 50-year-olds, and I am down for that. I mean, at 9 o'clock, I'm ready to be. I'm gonna go tuck myself in and go to sleep. My wife will stay up and watch TV, and I'm like, no, good night.
I'll watch a little TV, but I'm ready to lay down.
Yeah. So, well, listen, that's the joys of getting old. We're lucky to get old, so that's something we gotta be proud of. And now we're older, we gotta take care of ourselves better. But
because people always say, well, you're old, and I'm like, it's a blessing to get old.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't make it to this age. So
you know what? It is definitely the truth. So Fabe grew up in Louisiana, and I grew up in Pennsylvania and then California. So, it just shows that you could be from any part of this country and end up, playing ball and being best friends. I remember our Jerry Oliver, one of my best friends, he introduced me to Fabe, and he's like, I didn't think the two of you even like each other. He's like, I thought you guys were going to hate each other and try to fight each other. I'm like, well, we definitely had some battles back in the day, but, that's just showing that, hey, listen, this world is made up of a lot of different people, but people are people. And at the end of the day, if you understand people, you can become friends with anybody. And I think we've had a long friendship, and a long time still coming. But it's a joy. I've never had such a good supporter in my life, and supporter of ALG is with Fabe. If someone gets in an accident, I mean, he's right over there saying, you got to go see Joe, and he'll take care of you, and that's great. Back when he was cleaning offices, first of all, there was never a better office cleaner. The dude's like 6'5", and he sees the top of shit, so he knows when they didn't dust. Yeah. And he'd be riding those guys, and he made sure that shit was clean. And I will say that was, that's part of being a good businessman, like you said. And I think that I enjoy it, and I'm glad that you see that in me, because I do try to emulate, because I saw you running your business, and you know what, you get out there cleaning, and you'd be out there making sure everything's perfect, and you double check shit, and that's the key. I think if you got a boss that's willing to do it, then it's a lot easier to work for them. At least that's what I believe, and I try to implement around here.
Yeah, I always say, if I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to make you do it. So I always, even the first month, I always clean the building myself for the first month to see what we need to do, see how long it took, and then go from there. But it's always, I was hands-on.
Well, and I think that's about leadership, and I think that comes from sports, and that's kind of where I was going with that. And I think here my leadership process has always been, lead by example. I don't tell you can go do X amount of settlements if I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I don't tell you to do this with the client if I haven't already done it or I can't still do it. And I think that's important, and that's really I think how I've grown my business, and I try to do that, lead by example. I try to live my life there, and then we all make mistakes, we all make falters, that we shouldn't go back and erase. But I think from a business perspective, is there anything you wish you ever did differently? I know you're no longer running that business; you got a different business now.
I still do two cleaning. I still clean two offices.
Oh, do you? I didn't realize. Yeah.
But I don't want to do it. But it's two. But like Scotty and Murphy. So I still. They were from day one. But I try to tell them all the time I'm okay. But they're like, "No, we need you." So I continue to go there on weekends and just clean. But just like I just think the economy changed, and when the housing market went down, it was one of those things where a lot of people said, well, we got to cut something. And the first thing that usually get cut is the cleaning.
Yeah.
And they'll just say, we'll do it in-house. And then you got to figure out, like, do you want to keep your job or are you going to help us clean?
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. But I don't really have any regrets about the cleaning business. I had my time. It was great. But, the market changed, and you could normally make money. You weren't making money no more. Because like before, I used to be able to charge to clean carpets. And then all of a sudden the contracts were carpets are included.
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, I don't make no money just from the contract. I needed the extra work. So like stripping and waxing floors. So I had that business with that. I did everything. So I wasn't just cleaning. We stripped and waxed. We did carpets. We did everything. So I enjoyed that at that time. But
well, I mean, that's the thing. I think with business, you always got to roll with the punches.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tell me a little bit about what you do with your wife now, because I think this is interesting to me, and I think it's a very it's a much needed business that you guys do.
And so what we do now is we run some group homes, and so even when years ago when we adopted, it was over 20,000 kids in the foster system, and so. What we do now is like we have houses where we house kids that come from the state, and then the state put the kids in these homes. Like we prepare the homes for kids, and you have to do all this work to get the homes, and then we just run them. And
Gotcha.
So make sure kids are going to school and getting medical checks and all that other stuff. But we do everything that the kids need basically.
That's a great thing. People don't realize Fabe's got probably the biggest heart anybody I've ever met. He didn't just, they adopted, but he fostered kids for a while.
Yeah.
He'd bring kids into his home. He had already had 4 kids, at that point, and they bring somebody else into their home, and they would, they treat them like family, and they, I know you had a little heartbreak a couple times there where, foster kids, you kind of wanted to keep.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately that didn't work out. And, ultimately you guys end up adopting Aria.
Yeah. Because even with the state, their number one goal is reunification. So with that, I mean, you can have a kid for 6 or 7 months and you start growing close to that kid, and then all of a sudden they're gone.
Yeah.
And so it happens that way. But, and you see like some of those kids are still they're doing great now in life compared to what they were doing when they were in the system. So it's just like, it's almost like you got to try to help kids that need the help.
And that's what's great about you, Fabe, is that, you recognize that you went there, you saw a need, you didn't need the money. You didn't need, you didn't need the, and it's work. It's,
mm-hmm.
and and it's heartbreak at the same time. But you saw it, and you put yourself in there, and you've changed some kids' lives. I know you have.
Yeah.
You know,
You'll deal with kids, and like what you can't do is compare.
Yeah.
Because you're used to kids that go to school, and like my kids, like almost every kid I had, all my kids have at least a 4.0.
Yeah.
Even Raven and DJ now 4.0 kids.
Yeah.
But Arya struggles a little bit, but it's from the system that she came from, so it's just different. So we have to adjust to her. And I've been dealing with the school and trying to make sure she's on point to be able to go to 8th grade. So we just doing things that I wasn't used to.
Yeah.
Because, like early on, I would go into class in kindergarten and be like, hey, what are we doing? But now it's hands-on with her because now, my other kids, you don't tell them nothing. Like, I remember the oldest, Vanessa, she would cry. She got a B one time and cried for 2 weeks behind a B. And, but most kids would enjoy that B. She did not want that B.
Yeah. No.
And so
kids are, I think that's a great point. Is kids are different.
they are.
And you got to adjust as a parent to each of them individually, and that's key. But I thought it was important because people really need to know the side of it. He's a big dude, he looks like he's menacing. He's, I could still put a teardrop over the top of him, and he couldn't guard my 3. But he's a softie, and he's always been a softie. And I think the other day he took the day off just to handle Aria and go to school and sit down and make sure she's getting what she needs. And just that's just being a great father. And I don't think fathers get enough credit. And I talked about this with John the other day when he was on my show. And I just that's one of the reasons I wanted to have Fabe on, because I think it's a great salute to fathers and the fathers that are putting in the time. Just don't, we always get a bad rap. It's the dads that are missing that get the publicity. It's not the dads that are showing up. So I just kind of, one of the things I want to put a bow on this segment and in my show is just talk about being a dad. And I think, you're one of the best dads I've ever met. So I just want to thank you for everything you do. Thank you on behalf of your children for everything you do.
Yeah. I appreciate that because it's not easy because, like, even though I went that day, they'll tell you things, and I'm like, yeah, this, because what they're saying and what I'm seeing is two different things. So I'm sitting there, I don't want to argue with them, but I'm saying, like, what you telling me and what I'm seeing don't match. So you're telling me she's scoring this, but I'm seeing this in class grades, and it don't add up. So we have to do something about it.
Yeah.
And so they finally agreed to say, yeah, we're going to have another meeting and try to get her the help that she needs, because what you're seeing and what I'm seeing is two different things.
Yep.
So we'll sit here for 4 hours if we have to, but we have to figure it out what we're going to do.
Fabe's an advocate, and he ain't letting his kids get held back or without getting the proper what they need. That's for sure. And then, I know you sat there, and he's a very mild-mannered, quiet-spoken person, but I know he was a little bit more on point that day with aggressiveness as far as, hey, this is what my daughter needs, and this is what she's going to get.
Past the sheets, and then I see something, and you're like, well, I'm like, no, this should have been subtraction, not addition. We're not doing, like, she should know this.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me she knows it if you fly on past the pages. I don't know.
Yeah, listen.
I've seen it.
Fabe ain't putting up with no bullshit, especially when it comes to his kids.
I can't.
And that's why he's a phenomenal father, and and that's one of the main reasons I wanted him to have him here, because frankly, he's a guy I go to when I need father advice. With all his dads, we don't know the answers. I always tell my kids, I go, we have kids, and no one gives us a handbook. We're just winging it. We're doing our best, and each one of you is different, and each one of you needs something different, and we're doing our best as dads. And I wanted to salute you as a father today, and that's why I brought you on, and thanks for coming.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And, we'll keep fighting.
Yeah, hey,
till the end.
You know what? These kids are going to keep fighting us, so we're gonna keep fighting them. And you know what? Hopefully
back.
one day we're old, and they're going to be like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
That's all we care about.
Pushing me. That's all I care about.
All right, Fabe, so we're going to ask you, here's the question. I'm kind of like, everybody's always talking about what your drink is. What do you drink? What do you prefer? First of all, I know you like Hennessy on the rocks. But what is your morning beverage of choice? Because I think that says a little bit different. That's more a daily occurrence as opposed to something you might have once a month.
Yeah. Well, I think because my wife usually goes to Starbucks and she gets that caramel macchiato, extra caramel stirred, and she brings me one home in the mornings on the mornings that I'm not coming here because I usually have to leave earlier, but that's usually my drink.
That's your drink?
From Starbucks, yeah.
First of all, when I met Fabi, never went to Starbucks.
Never.
Yeah, and then I got you into Starbucks.
You did.
And now his wife brings him to Starbucks. And Fabi, he's got the secret sauce because he's got this wonderful wife, Jennifer, that spoils the shit out of him. She's a sugar mama. She'd be buying him cars. Now we find out she goes and gets him Starbucks in the morning. I mean, the dude, I don't know what he does, but he does it well. That's all I got to say.
I just wake up smiling every morning. Now, that's all I do.
Listen, I've known you. We've the two of us as men have gone through a lot. We've both been married, divorced, remarried. And I definitely can say we are both the happiest we've probably ever been in our life right now. And our current spouses are a big part of that. And we're both lucky men.
Very lucky. Blood pressure's down. Because, for years, that went untreated.
Yeah.
And so, I would get a headache every day. I was telling Megan yesterday, I haven't popped Excedrin in a long time. I remember at one point, for 2 years straight, I had Excedrin every morning.
Yeah.
And then so, of course, she forced me to go because, I'll fight her to the end. I'm not going to the doctor. And found out my blood pressure was high, and now it's perfect.
Oh.
I'm on some meds, but it's perfect. And,
Hey,
left untreated, it could be a big deal because
big deal.
One of my buddies left it untreated and had a stroke.
Oh, shit.
So
yeah,
it happens.
No, it's good. And that's what's great about, I think, the women in our lives, both of us. My wife, same thing. She, you know what, I had blood pressure too. And she'd be like, well, we're changing the diet around here. And she's like, I don't want to hear about it. Yeah. And now we eat home cooked meals all the time.
Yes.
And last night she had like shrimp and rice. And I'm like, well, where's the steak or where's the beef or anything? She's like, no, you're having shrimp and rice, some diced bell peppers. This is what's better for you. And I'm like, all right.
My wife would grill some salmon quick because she's like, this is what you need. You don't need all that fried food. Do this and you'll be all right.
Listen, and that is why we are happier men today.
Exactly.
Yeah, because of your caramel macchiato.
Caramel macchiato early in the morning.
Early in the morning.
And then she'll bring me a breakfast sandwich too.
Look at that! Even breakfast sandwich too. I'm lucky too. My wife she'll bring Starbucks and she'll also make me breakfast too before I leave. So I have a healthy breakfast before I go.
Yes, gotta have it.
That's why we're lucky men. And nice work.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you,
man.
Mr. Brown.